While running a restaurant fundamentally hasn't changed since their inception, what you need to run your restaurant profitably has. Technology has become a necessity for every restaurant, and today we refer to it as your tech stack. What exactly do you need in your tech stack? Hey there, Restaurant Pro. This is Dave Scott Peters, restaurant expert coach and creator of the Restaurant Prosperity Formula, and today I'm going to talk about the digital shift in the restaurant industry and how to modernize your restaurant daily systems. When I made my way back to the restaurant business, I grew up my family restaurant and catering business, working for my mom, went to college, swore I'd never get back in the business. Next thing you know, I graduated college and made my way back to the restaurant business. And most restaurants back then, well, they were still using paper tickets for orders and green bar paper to keep their books. This was back in the early 1990s. So honestly, it really wasn't that long ago. At that time, I can remember using, whether it was a first or second generation POS system, one that you had to type in PLU numbers. I think I can tell you right now on the top of my head, 1137 was a soda, a brand called Slice. I think Slice is still out here today. And I'm not kidding. 1137 Slice. I can remember it because I typed it in so often. Now, when you made a mistake entering your numbers when it came to your end of night in this long book of green bar paper, and I want you to imagine, if you don't know what green bar paper is, imagine a sort of graph paper, this really long graph paper that's set up to look like a spreadsheet with columns and what have you. And the fact is that it was green with green bars. So that's green bar paper. Well, I could tell you when you made a mistake, you had to use something called whiteout to make corrections. Well, another term for some people, you would know it as liquid paper. Basically this, it's a small bottle of what was like white paint, and you would paint over your mistake because you couldn't erase it. You did it in pen. And like all of a sudden you'd have to cover it up and write over it. I can remember, the time we moved to this amazing computer software called Microsoft Excel. Yes, I'm old. Unless you're a Gen Xer, the story I just shared with you probably, blew your mind. You're like, what? Green bar paper? What are you talking about? But everything I shared with you was real life experience for me. I've been in the business a long, long time. Fast forward to today. We don't even use software anymore. What's everything called? Everything is called an app. Because when we have apps, we can use our apps for everything we do. We can use our apps seamlessly. We can use them on our computers, our tablets, even our smartphones. And after creating a restaurant app myself from the ground up in my last company and working with literally thousands of restaurant owners over the last, 20 plus years as a restaurant coach, I've seen a lot of apps. Let me break down your tech stack needs into two categories. Category one are the must-haves and category two are the would be nice to have. And the truth of the matter is, so nice to have, I'd probably have them. Category one, the must-haves. It starts with a point of sale system. You cannot run a restaurant without a POS system anymore. And if I were to tell you a recommendation, while I don't full throat and say this is who you go with, I can tell you that probably 8 out of 10 of my members are using Toast. In fact, Toast is taking over the world. One of the things that they're doing extremely well is merging with other tech so that your apps are communicating with it. So probably Toast. You need to be working with Google Sheets or Excel, which are now online apps, right? They're no longer software, they're apps. Why? One of the major reasons is not for all the ways you want to slice and dice your numbers, but more importantly, your DSR tracking, your daily sales report to make sure your money makes it in the bank and you've got all the numbers so you can track your food costs, pour costs by category, bottled beer, draft beer, wine, liquor, and your labor costs. All this can be done because you're tracking. You've got to have apps for online checklists. I recommend to all my members, in fact, for my members, I buy them a year subscription for one of their restaurants to Jolt, J-O-L-T, jolt.com, probably the gold standard when it comes to checklists, online checklists. You need an app for food and beverage controls. That's ordering, inventory, recipe cards, and the like. I recommend to my members marginedge.com. In fact, I'll tell you to go to marginedge.com/DSP for David Scott Peters, and you can have a demo with who I consider an extremely incredible pro when it comes to restaurant business, and that's Bruce Earl. I don't get a kickback or anything for any of these recommendations, but I want to make sure you're taken care of. You need an app for scheduling. I'm going to tell you, 7shifts seems to be the one everybody's using today, the one that has built the most user-friendly and right reporting. You need an app for accounting. Well, it would be QuickBooks Online. Not desktop, but online, so that you can share that information. Your accountant can log in, you can be in, 2 other people can be in, and it all works. You need an app for websites. Your website needs to be professional. It is not only an online business card, but it should drive people into your store or build your list or both. I can tell you, most of my members, Bento Box is probably the app people are using. You need an app for social media posting. A generic one would be Hootsuite that can schedule and do things. I'm sure there are some that might be better today. Those are the category 1s. The category 2, the would be nice to have, which I'm going to tell you is probably should have. You need app for sales forecasting. I can tell you, my friends over at 5out.io, the number 5out.io, they have built what is probably the most incredible sales forecasting tool I've ever seen. Like, I don't get excited about software very often, but this software for many of my members is predicting sales within a couple $100 a day. You need an app for tip allocation. My friends over at Tip House, and that's TIPHAUS, have developed a user-friendly, extremely powerful tip share solution that all your team can see how the tips were shared, what they should have, get the money into their bank account. It's just a must-have. You got to have an app for food safety. I'm going to take you back to my friends at Jolt. They have time temps systems that are going to internet-based, that are going to tell you if you have warnings, but they also have the great prep system, if you will, with the date of when you produce it, when it's going to expire. Really powerful. You're going to need an app for loyalty. Once you go to my good friends at repeatreturns.com, I can tell you that they are the loyalty program I send my people to. You need an app for catering. I can tell you probably 8 out of 10 of my members who cater are talking about how CaterZen has changed their life. You need an app for project management and communication with your management team. While I am a fan of Monday.com, I can tell you my team and most of my members love Asana. And the reality is, this list can go on and on and on. But at some point in time, I've got to draw the line, because I could go into online ordering, reservations, equipment management, table management, bump screens, and keep going. Technology is truly changing our industry. Now, with that said, I understand this more than anybody, but you've got to understand you cannot fight technology. Instead, you need to embrace it. You need to become an early adopter of technology. Because when you're an early adopter, when things change, you're prepared for those changes. Think about when COVID hit and you didn't have online ordering, but the early adopters did. They were immediately able to pick those sales back up because their customer had a way to order. Instead, if you were a late adopter, you were scrambling and behind the 8 ball. You were behind. And I'm going to tell you, you've got to have technology today, because we have to find ways to become more efficient. While the apps cost us more money, they should be saving us money when it comes to this environment of higher wages and higher product costs. They should help us save. Let's finish on this early adopter note. Let me tell you, if you're not already experimenting with ChatGPT to assist you with, well, a multitude of tasks in your restaurant, from marketing to writing policies and procedures to handling certain tasks for you, you're already starting to fall behind. Be sure to join me live every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, travel schedule permitting, where I'll get you pumped about the upcoming weekend, get you excited about crushing your goals and finding the motivation to be best you possible. Plus, I'll answer your burning questions live.